No, I
No.
don't.
Okay. No, but you're
I have
saying
the YouTube live
okay,
chat
great.
on.
I see the Facebook live chat. So if somebody could let us know how the audio is, let me
Oh,
actually check myself. Yep, I see we have audio. Okay, great. On YouTube live chat, I see another godless atheist is there. Chris is here. GV is here. On Facebook, I see people joining in. So, somebody tell us how the audio is.
yeah, I
Some.
have it up now.
Okay,
So
great,
yeah, let
great.
us know how the audio is.
I think we're good. I think we're good. Okay, let's get started.
All right. First bit of news is out of Florida, USA. A sheriff refuses to remove "In God We Trust" from squad cars after atheist group protests. The atheist group in question here is, of course, our favorite Freedom from Religion Foundation, who did send a letter to the sheriff, Sheriff Ivey, there, saying that um, he has wasted money in putting these decals up on all the cars, taxpayer money, and it also violates the law because it's beyond their scope of secular government. Sheriff Ivey counters back on the claim that they have a better chance of me waking up thin tomorrow morning than they do of me taking the motto off our cars. He says that he believes America is at a tipping point, and giving in to the FFRF, Freedom from Religion Foundation, would be ceding his values. So yeah, there's a big problem here, obviously, and that is that he is him having these decals on the cars absolutely is a violation of the Constitution. They are not. He is supposed to be a secular government organization, and by him putting those decals in the car, he is saying we're not secular. We absolutely care about God, and it's one God, and it's the Christian God. And they believe that this is okay. So the Freedom from Religion Foundation has won several of these arguments in court and before they've gotten to court. So I'm interested to see how this turns out.
But what do you think is the thinking process behind like a cop like this? Like, do they think like do they like I'm trying to put myself in their shoe and I'm trying to be as generous and as possible and steelman them as much as possible. Like, how is somebody that is supposedly thinking that their job is uphold to the law? Do they not understand that have you can put this on anything that is privately yours, like anything you own, in your own on your home, on your own personal car, that this is against the law? Like, how? First of all, what is their thinking process that they think this is okay to put on a government-owned, publicly owned car in a country that is not 100% Christian, and that they're supposed to be not supposed to be for just for Christians, supposed to be for everybody? That's the question one. And question number two is like, how do they think they could get away with it? Like, do they not know that at some point this is going to be like, how is he think that he could keep resisting this without, like, can he keep resisting this? Like, or is the law not going to catch up to him and force him to remove it at some point? So, two questions.
The law absolutely will catch up with them and force them to remove it at some point. And we've seen that historically. Even here in Texas, we've had this case come through. They were forced to remove it. My question is, why does this department have so much free money they can just afford to professionally have this put on their fleet of cars? Why do they feel that is the best use of their money here? But the reason why he wants to do this is because he says that he is a proud, and the men and women he served with, they're proud, upstanding citizens. They love their country and they love their God. And that's great. I think that
Well, it's not
they
great,
can
but
be.
fine.
Well, no, not with the decals. I think that they can be those things if they want to be those things. It's absolutely what this country is all about, right? But he can't do that on government appointed property.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty obvious. Like, I mean, they're like, "Oh, you love your God. Well, go love your God on your own time, not on the time that
Right.
you're being paid for." Like, this is the Muslims and atheists and Jews and Hindus that are citizens of your country are paying your salary, and you're supposed to be representing all of them. So you cannot be like, "Hey, this is the God that I'm serving." Well, then go get a different fucking job. Oh shit! I swear already. Didn't make it even through the first news. Chris is the top comment. Oh, by the way, Shubham, do you have any comments on this?
No, I don't actually.
Chris is saying I could care less it makes him feel better. Who cares? One thing that I have always said is, if you are a religious person, just don't preach and talk down to me about religion, and I won't explain to you how stupid you are. Everyone has the right to believe what they want, no matter how everyone else feels about it. Chris Decker, you completely missed the entire point of this, right? You could care less. Then you are completely out of the loop, and don't understand the significance of this. You don't care less that they're putting in God we trust on government property while they're serving the public at a government job. You couldn't care less. Then you don't understand how important this is. You think that it's against their religious freedom if we don't let them do this? No, they have every right and every freedom to be able to do that on their own car, on their own home, in their own house, and practice the religion that they want in their own time. This is not about limiting people's freedom. This is about what they do when they're serving as an agent of the people that they're supposed to be representing. So you think like you don't care? You think you're being tolerant by not caring less about this? You think you're being tolerant by letting people in God we trust on government-owned property? Really? You think that's tolerant? You don't understand anything about tolerance if you think that's okay. In fact, if you let them do that while they're doing their government job, you are being intolerant of the people that are paying the salaries of these people, the people that are supposed to be represented, and they're having this is their version of shoving their God on the public, right? So you're being intolerant of all the other people that these cops are supposed to be representing. This is things that sound tolerant when you say I don't care, they can do whatever they want, but if you just spend 2 seconds thinking about it, you realize how ridiculous you're being, right? Anyways, Chris is saying, in God we trust is on government property, money, and there was a case about that where it was ruled it's not unconstitutional. Maybe this time will actually be different. Yeah, and thank you for Freedom from Religion Foundation for looking into this. Jennifer is saying, good to see the whole separation of church and state thing is working perfectly. I think that's just she's joking. All right, let me close this one. Let's go to the next news.
Next bit of news is out of India. More than half of people in India would refuse a life-saving donated organ from an LGBT person. Yeah, so a survey that was done by a Mumbai-based Edelweiss Tokyo life insurance company asked a few of its people over 12 cities in India about their opinions on organ donation. They found that there was a huge disparity between. Okay, first of all, a lot of people in India don't even want to donate organs because they believe that they need their organs when they're reborn into their next life.
Really? Wow. Okay.
One of the people who would receive
these are one of the many costs of religion. The subtle ways that religion screws with our life, like less organ donation. But go on.
Yeah, of the people who would actually, take an organ from somebody, 54% said that they do not think LGBT plus people should be able to donate organs, and 56% said that they would not want to receive a donated organ from a gay person.
Wow. You know what's interesting to me? I'll let Shubham explain this to us later, but every time I posted this on my Twitter account about the live stream that is coming up, right? And as soon as and this is one of the main stories that was featured that we're going to be talking about today. And as soon as you posted, as I expected, there's some Hindus that are saying, where are you getting this from? What is your source, right? And it's very interesting because we get this a lot, like, where's your source? Where are you getting this from? And the source is always in the description, right? And always in the description, and nobody bothers. People are like, "Oh, what you didn't you give us? So where are you getting this from?" And like, I'm not gonna respond to you when people are like, "Oh, where's your source?" Because you didn't spend 5 seconds checking the description to see if we have a source. You think I'm gonna spend 5 seconds to send you the link when you didn't take 5 seconds to check the description to see if we have a source for this or not, right? So, but the fact that they don't ask, these Hindus don't ask for a source where it's not anything about something that they're not triggered about is telling, right? So they're not like, if I say like, oh, like in Saudi Arabia, I don't know, there is, gay people are being oppressed, but these are the numbers. Like, oh, they never said like, oh, where are you getting this? Like, if they cared about the news having a source or something, they would be consistent. Even if it's about India, if it's something good about India, which we do post good things about India, they don't ever say like, oh, where's your source, right? It's only when there's a bad thing that, oh, where's your source? Even though the source is right there, right in the description, right? And they're like, oh, I asked for them for the source, and they didn't give it to me. So they're lying. Like, no, I didn't spend my time. I didn't take time out of my day giving you the source because you didn't take the time to check if we gave the source. Why would I, given the 200 things I have in my day to do, why would I spend some of it answering you when you don't even invest the time to check if this, like, it's interesting thing is that even if we didn't give the source, which we always do, you could have spent 2 minutes just to search for the news to see if this is there or not. Like, if it's right there, it's for everybody. This is public information. Anyway, Shopam, can you give us some more information about this news?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think I should say, like, many people would think, like, okay, 19% of people don't want to donate organs, but that's a very low number. And that's actually not. 20% of a billion is like 200 million. That's a huge number for one. And I mean, I'm like disgusted with the Indian society, like, for this stuff. I don't know what to say. I mean, this is so stupid. And like GV even mentioned in the live chat, like, there are very few, around 35% of the Indian youth, not people, the youth, who think that homosexuality is okay. Just 35%.
Only 25%.
35%.
35%. Wait, so they think like what? Like the organs are gonna have something? There's something disgusting about gay organs or LGBT organs. Is that why they don't accept it? Like they rather die?
Yeah, well, some superstition, like some superstitious people think, like, if they receive organs from LGBTQ people, they'll be born as them, like they will be born gay or trans or something in the next life. Like, there's always this kind of superstition. And then there's the medical side, who think like, okay, so like gay people, they have been criminalized for so long that they have had, I mean, everyone knows they have had sex, like no one's denying that, but they have had sex in secret and they never came out about it, so many of them might have AIDS. And so if they are allowed to give blood transfusions, then the one who's receiving that might also get AIDS. So but it's completely like, it's completely, the medical institutions are supposed to check for
Yeah.
HIV in the blood transfusions. So
That's what I was gonna say.
That's totally not an excuse.
They're pretty, like the hospitals and all the medical institutions are very, 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 picky about, like, if there's any issues, they're gonna see it before everyone else whether this is okay for donation or not. What is
Yeah,
this?
because in 2017, the Blood Safety Division of National AIDS Control Organization said that the LGBTQ community cannot donate blood because they are a high risk group. So this is basically their reasoning.
So what is the source of this level of homophobia? Because I can hear already some Hindus saying like, oh, this is not Hinduism, this is British colonialism effect of their homophobia on Indian society. Is that accurate or not?
Okay, here's the thing, like, I would say British colonialism actually promoted homophobia because of the Christian views and stuff, but I won't say that India was totally I mean, gay friendly before that. I mean, if it was, it wouldn't be so homophobic right now.
So they say even
British colonialism is over.
So the Hindus would say like even before the British, the homophobia that was brought before the British was by the Islamic Empire. Had nothing. So that's what they would say.
I mean, that's stupid. I mean, in Hindu scriptures, like, I think I've mentioned this before, they're very controversial. Like, some are like gay friendly and stuff, like gods of gay or trans, and some like provide cures for being gay and stuff. Like, It's very.
So it's
I mean,
contradicting.
you can pick anything you want
So
from
you have
that.
text, you have scripture for
Yeah.
anything you choose, right? You want to
But
pick.
one thing I can say, like the society as a whole was not that friendly. I mean, they were like, okay, they are not a huge problem. Let them be by themselves. But we are not really gonna accept them. So that was the thing. Also.
So the two top comments I find it a bit disturbing. They both have the same message. Neil is saying, "What's well, that's just natural selection at work," and somebody else is saying, "Perfect Darwinism at its best." So they're saying basically they're suggesting that these people that are not accepting organ donation from LGBT, well, that's a good thing because they're just going to die out anyways. The problem I have with that is one, what this news shows is not perfect and good news in any way at all, because it first of all indicates it's just a way of showing the level of homophobia. It's not just the fact that they're not accepting organ donation. It's the fact that it's the fact that this is a way for us to show how much other nonsense gay people have to deal with in living in a society like this. Like, if they find you so disgusting that they don't even accept organs from you if it could save their life, imagine what gay people have to deal with on a day-to-day basis going through their lives living in such a society, right? So, and that's one thing. So the second thing is that I don't think even this level of bigotry, people deserve to die because of it. Like, it's very tempting for us to think like, wow, so disgusting. These people are homophobes, and then be happy that okay, they deserve to die. Nobody deserves to die for being stupid. Nobody even deserves to die for being a bigot. Okay, nobody deserves to die even for being a bigot. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah,
Um,
nobody deserves to die. I agree with that, but they deserve some penalty for
Yeah, they do. But
it.
like, this is like for us to
well,
think. Yeah, go on
this
now.
is this is a different case. You know, do I definitely don't think people deserve to die because they're stupid. I think that's a blanket statement. That's just insane. But these people aren't just being stupid. They were given a chance, in this theoretical example, they're given a chance to live and they're declining it.
Because
They're
of
declining it.
ignorance.
So do they deserve to die for declining an organ, a perfectly healthy organ? I mean,
Yeah, but I see them as victims, though. Am I being too
in
nice?
this case, I think you are being a little too liberal with that. Like,
Yeah,
I,
yeah. I mean,
I agree with you. And 99% of the time, people do not deserve to die for being stupid. But this isn't them just being stupid. This is also them
I,
declining an organ.
but if I see a suicide bomber as a victim of an ideology, I also think this goes along the same line. Like, I could condemn and feel bad for somebody at the same time. These are not contradictory. I could think like somebody is evil, bigoted, and also feel like it's so sad that it went that way and they became victims of a harmful ideology, and it didn't have to be like that, right? So I think oppressors could be victims at the same time, right? And usually they are. So maybe I'm going too far. Let me know if I am going too far. But I usually, when it comes to people, I'm a bit too nice maybe. Anyways, do you want to add anything to this before we go to the next news?
Nope.
Shopam?
Not really.
Okay. Next news.
Next news is out of Illinois. A hate preacher says girls who look like Rachel Maddow should be. Sorry, I'm going to start that over. A hate preacher says girls who look like Rachel Maddow are repulsive to normal men. So this pastor, Tommy McCurdy, he preaches at the Liberty Baptist Church in Illinois. He was one of those pastors that was involved in that Pulse nightclub protest that they did, where they were really wanting a gay person to become violent at the protest. They'd have the right to kill it. Their words, not mine. So this is a very hate-filled group that every single sermon seems to just obsess over gays. So he's doing a sermon on how Christian men should raise their daughters, which in and of itself, stop right there. Gross. Okay. Anytime Christian men start going off about underage girls, and their purity and everything. It just really weirds me out. But yeah, that's what he's talking about. He's talking about, of course, they should be pure. Of course, they should dress conservatively. And he's going on about this stuff. And then he says, but Rachel Maddow, we talk about how hideous she is. Actually, at one time, she was pretty decent looking. But then liberalism, feminism turned her into Rachel Mad Cow.
Let people know who people outside of the U.S. might not know who this lady is. Rachel Maddow.
Oh, Rachel Maddow is a MSNBC newscaster.
Yes, very famous lesbian.
And she's gorgeous.
Okay, but she cut her hair short and she wears suits, like, I don't know. So yeah, okay. So she's the most. I guess she's the most famous. One of the most famous. I think Ellen is the most famous lesbian in the United States. I think this would be a close second, or no, far distant second, right? All right, go on.
I think Portia de Rossi.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right.
Okay. It doesn't matter. She's prominent. She's amazing at her job, which is what's most important.
Yeah, debatable. She spreads conspiracy theories a little bit, but go on.
Okay, but but she's still out there. She's still working. She's still doing it. Okay, so basically what this guy is now preaching to men, aside, this is finally like one of his non-LGBT bashing sermons that turned into an LGBT bashing sermon, that liberalism and feminism, if you let your daughters get involved, if you let your daughters be a feminist, if you let your daughters be a liberal, she has a chance of looking like Rachel Maddow.
And so that's like a huge, for Christian dads, that's like a huge scare. So basically what they're worried about, I think, yeah, you're right, it is a bit creepy. They want their little girls to always be girly. They want to always have have this vision of them, doing girly stuff, growing up to be like this lady that they have in mind. And all of a sudden, I think this preacher has touched a nerve, like, oh my God, what if she becomes like a professional with a career and cuts her hair short?
Heaven forbid.
Like, yeah, so like, oh no, like, this scares them a lot. I actually don't know. Which one do you think scares Christian dads more? For their daughters to become something they consider manly, or for their sons to become something that they consider to be girly?
From my experience, always boys. They're the primary concern. Women are way lesser concerned because we're just girls. Men are most important.
Well, women, I think, are more of a concern when it comes to their sex life, right? Like, men are more. Men are more. Oh yeah, men. So when your sons, you're more concerned if they're acting masculine or not, right? Your daughters you're more concerned if they're pure or not. I think those are the things, right? I guess. Yeah, so let me see what the top comment is. Top comment is, Patty is saying Rachel Maddow is a beautiful person, inside and out. You, sir, are not. Okay. I can't imagine Rachel Maddow cares what men think of her looks. Yeah, because she's a lesbian. By the way, no, I'm not going to get into that. Shubham, do you want to add anything to this?
I don't know.
I think we have lost the conversation if we're once we start talking about how good looking somebody is. I mean, if we're talking about people's ideas, whether somebody is good looking or not, I think once we're going to that, because don't defend people by telling them that. Don't defend people's positions by saying that they're good looking, because some people are absolutely ugly and they have really good ideas, right? And some people are gorgeous and they have really horrible ideas. I think those are, if the topic is somebody being good looking, that's a legit, world's sexiest man alive, or like model that is beautiful, then that's relevant to that discussion. But if it comes to some people's opinions and stuff, it really doesn't matter how good looking they are. And if you just tell, anyways, I don't want to get into that. Like, I just think like we care about people's looks in situations where it shouldn't even matter too much. I think how good looking people are is an obsession that we have that is irrelevant in most cases. I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay, I
one
mean,
name, just to sum up everything you just said, is Gwyneth Paltrow.
Okay.
That lady's crazy.
Okay.
yeah,
Very,
she's
very
crazy.
gorgeous.
Okay.
She isn't even aware of half the movies she's in. By the
Okay.
way, I mean, I wanted to add something like this preacher, this pastor. He actually said that only ugly women do it by referring to the shaving of head for breast cancer awareness. He said that only ugly women do that. So he's
Yeah.
like, anything women do that's even if it's awareness for other women's illness or something. If that's remotely not to its ideals, then that woman's ugly.
Right. And also, by the way, I don't think this is I don't know. Do you guys think that women's appearances are commented on a lot more than men's appearances? I think it
Actually,
no.
no, I don't.
Yeah. I think it's
I
actually
think
yeah,
that,
go on. Sorry, go.
sorry.
No, you go on.
Okay, I think that it's a common misconception
Mm.
because I think women are more sensitive to it. But when we look at other public figures such as Trump, and everyone in his cabinet, and just about any public figure, the first thing anyone goes towards when they want to, say how much they disagree with someone or dislike them is their looks. And I think that women might just be a little bit more fixated on that. Like they might notice it a little bit more than men do, but I think it's about even.
I actually think it's a bit more on men. I know this is going to be controversial, but I think because you can get away by commenting on men's look, I see it done more without any backlash. Like when you watch like I don't know, The Late Show or other late comedy, mainstream comedy, stand-up comedians, or late I don't know, Stephen Colbert or all these other people. Like they go after how men look, making fun of politicians without holding back at all. Like we make fun of them a lot. Trump's looks, other politicians, how the way they look, and there is no backlash to that. And when it comes to women, they make women they disagree with, like Republican women and stuff like that. They don't comment about their looks because they know that that wouldn't be tolerated, right? So I do think that there is more acceptance. I think maybe going after women's look was more before, like more common before, and because now it has such a huge backlash, people don't. It's such a huge taboo to go after women's looks that a lot of like left wing people they go only after how men look and they do it without any hesitation. And that's why I think actually commenting on making fun of men for how they look is a lot more than women. At least in United States. I don't know. Maybe in other countries it's different. What do you
In
guys?
in in India, it's like it depends on the platform. Like online, they go after men's look, and offline, they go after women's look.
I don't know. I don't see what people do offline. But maybe another godless atheist is saying, yeah, that's true. Men are open targets in the looks department, more than women are. Okay.
But just a quick example off the top of my head on how men's, not just men's look, but men in general, like Trump, people made a big deal about his penis being tiny, right? I couldn't imagine anyone talking about Hillary Clinton's breast size or something equivalent. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Wow. Yes, you're right. You're right. Wow. And yeah, you're right. Wow. Oh my God, that would be huge. Okay, let's go to where are we? Next news.
next news is out of Karnataka, India. Couple with 2 children stoned to death for inter-caste marriage. Who will take care of their kids now? Ramesh Maddow and Gangama were married. Gangama belonged to the Lambani community. In her family, she had left them years ago due to opposition of her family members for that marriage. And fearing backlash from the family, they moved away, but then they came back on November 6th and they were spotted by some other people from the Lambani community who attacked them and then later stoned them to death because they were a part of a different subcaste. And I think Shubham has more information about that.
Yeah. So okay. First of all, to the Hindus who say like at least Hindus won't stone you to death, well, here's the case. And secondly, this is one of those cases where the discrimination is not against lower caste by the upper caste, but against lower caste by lower castes, because the man was a Dalit and the woman was from the Lambani community, which is which is considered as a lower caste
But still in a
in
caste.
India.
Still a caste. So the
Yeah,
Dalit is outer
in India,
caste.
everyone has a caste. In India,
Yeah.
everyone has to have a caste.
Even the people that are not Hindu?
Yeah, they'll either be other backward classes or general classes or something, but you'll have a
Mm.
caste.
Caste. Okay. So wait, this is a Dalit. Dalit is the lowest of all lows, right? The caste system,
Yeah.
right? So this was
They're not even caste; they're outcasts.
yeah, that's what I was like. So this is a marriage between an outcast and one of the lowest castes. But they're,
Yeah, well,
they're both are pretty much at close to the very. One of them is at the very very bottom, and the other one is close to the very bottom, and they got married, right? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not actually as simple as that. In practical, in theory, what you read, the five castes, that's like not really very true in the practical sense, because there are thousands and thousands of subcastes and stuff. And this community, the Lambani community, it's not even native to the Karnataka region. It's actually from Afghanistan and Rajasthan, and they are like considered as different castes in different states. Okay, they are not the same thing in every state. So
Okay, just to be clear, how did they have? They already had two children, so they were married. These people were married for a while, but because
they were married for like 4 years, I think.
Okay, they were married for 4 years. They had two children. They had fled the village that they lived in because they knew the backlash. Because wow, this is so sad. So they were in love, and they basically said, screw you to the social norms, and they loved each other. So they married each other, and they fled from the village. But they visited back, and people, when they found out that they're coming back, that's how they spot them, and they stoned both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. What happened to the children? The two children.
That's like the main question.
So
like, we'll take care of the children now.
oh my, this is so sad. So the two which family which family, like the both side of the family started the stoning? Like, how did that happen?
No,
was
the
a
Lambani community. Only the Lambani community
Lambani
people who spotted them, they stoned them.
It's so okay. So this is a group of people that they themselves have been discriminated against by the whole caste system, and yet, even though that they are a target of this whole caste nonsense, they are upholding it by oppressing people that are below them, even though they are not. They themselves are oppressed by this whole system.
That's what this religion Hinduism does to you.
And so what if people say, oh no, this is not Hinduism? What would you, I mean, this is so Hinduism. I don't know if this is not Hinduism, then what is Hinduism? Like, this is the caste system. It doesn't get more Hinduism than this, right? But what do you say to people that say that this is not Hinduism?
Fuck you.
Yeah. Right.
This is completely Hinduism.
Right.
Caste system, there's no existing religion which has the caste system right now.
Right.
It's only Hinduism. And it's only in India and Nepal. Even Hindus living abroad, they're not really that shitty like the ones here in India.
This is so fucked up. So fucked up. I don't know if I've seen videos of public of stoning. And this is one of the worst way to go. And imagine being in love and there's a mob that is stoning you, and
being in love is, by the way, a taboo in most of the India, most of the country. Oh, you're in love. Oh, that's the taboo, almost a taboo.
But this is what is so screwed up. Imagine not just being stoned, not just being big rocks being thrown at you and you're being slowly killed, but while that's happening, you're watching the person that you love the most in this life, the person that you took a huge risk, you love them so much that you sacrificed everything. It took such a big sacrifice to be with them. To you gave up your entire family. That person that you sacrificed to be with and to marry, you're watching them die as well. You're watching them suffer, and that is your last memory. The fact that you watching people killing them in front of you, and that is going through your mind. And imagine also not knowing what's going to happen to your two kids while all of this is happening to you. Imagine all of those thoughts going through your head. Imagine the rocks being thrown at you, the pain that you're suffering, the pain that you're suffering from being, watching your loved one being stolen, and the pain that you're suffering from knowing that you're leaving two kids behind. I have no idea what's going to happen to them, and those being your last memory. I mean, if that doesn't convince you that religion is evil, and this is being done by your own family to you. This is being done by the people that are supposed to love you. They are doing this to you. If that doesn't convince you that religion is evil, I don't know what does.
Okay, here's another thing. Like in India, many people will sympathize with this couple. They'll say, okay, they were not to be stoned to death and stuff. But the for the most part, the majority of the mentality is like they were bad. The couple were bad because they left their family to fulfill their own wishes. That's the how the Indian mentality is. If you leave your family to marry, to elope with the person you love, if you do anything you want to do without consulting your family members, your parents, then you are the villain. That's Indian mentality, and that's sad.
Is the practice of stoning, is this a new thing? Because I haven't seen this like this. When it comes to stoning, I mostly think about Abrahamic religions. I think Old Testament, and I also think the Quran. Where is this? Like, I understand the caste, the taboo, like the caste system, and the fact that they married out of caste. That's a Hinduism thing. But what about the stoning part?
It's if it comes to violence in Hinduism, it's either like in rural areas, it's either stoning or beating with sticks and stuff like that.
Hmm. But
It's not really a very common thing, but it could be common in rural areas, and we might not be aware of that because not every news like this is covered. In some parts, they are
but
not even covered in the news.
right, but this like the caste system has is based in Hindu scripture, right? But
Yeah.
the stoning part is not based in Hindu scripture, right? Like,
Well, it's the stoning, not as exactly stoning, but there are parts like you can kill, you are allowed to kill, or you are allowed to beat people.
beats, yeah.
There
Like,
are,
it doesn't
yeah,
specify how, but okay.
yeah, you can do it however you want.
Okay, all right. And we don't deny the fact that religions get influenced by each other, right? So we don't deny that, right? And cultures and toxic ideas. Okay. All right. So let's go to the next news.
Next news is out of the USA. Sikhs are the third most targeted religious group after Jews, Muslims, FBI reports. So this is very interesting to me because this is an actual FBI released report where they get all the information from all the police all across the country, and they put everything together, showing statistics of hate crimes by race, by religion, and various things of that. So in this article, we're actually discussing the hate crimes based on religion, not just hate crimes in general, because a lot of people I know get confused and want to say, no, it's this group or that group that has the most hate crimes on them. But we're talking about religion, and what it showed in 2018 data was that there were 835 hate crimes committed against Jews, followed by 188 hate crimes committed against Muslims, and 60 hate crimes committed against Sikhs. So, yeah, it's just showing that still in 2018.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think? Okay, so Jews, I know why that is. But I don't know if so. Jews are number one, Muslims are number two, and then Sikhs are number three. But I don't know if they're saying this is based on religion. I don't know if the fact that the Jews are the targeted number one. I don't think that is based on religion. I think Jews are mostly targeted based on people that are bigots against their ethnicity or race or whatever, right? So I think most of the hate crimes that are against the Jews is not because people are against, people that practice Judaism. I think it's mostly a racist thing. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong though, right? So if it is based on religion, I don't think the Jews should be on this list. But maybe I'm wrong. But why do you think number three are Sikhs? What do you think? Like, is there a chance that it's because I'll give you two hypotheses. Do people confuse them with Muslims?
Yes.
That's it. Okay. Or number two is that I don't think like that there are that many bigots that are specifically hate Sikhs, right? Like, so I think it's mostly because they confuse them with Muslims and because they are so visible about their ideology, right? Like, most Muslim men at least do not have anything that identifies them as Muslim, right? But Sikhs, they have like so many things that you could visually see that they are different, right, from other people around them. But I do think I do follow a lot of content from people that are bigots to just see their mentality. I haven't seen any group of people that are like, you know what, I hate Sikhs. I specifically hate Sikhs, right? It's either just foreigner, or they're just xenophobic in general, or they're mostly, if some people are specific about a certain group of people, it's either Muslims or Jews, right? I don't know anybody specifically focused on Sikhs, so it must be so the people that are targeting Sikhs is either because they're so visually obviously different from other people, or it's because they're confusing them with Muslims. What do you guys think about my guess there?
I think it's absolutely they're confusing them with Muslims. We actually reported, and this is just anecdotal. I'm not using this as an argument to back up why I believe this, but you and I did report on an incident where somebody had attacked a Sikh convenience store owner in Oregon, USA. And the guy did it because he thought he was a Muslim, and he kept saying, "Go back to your own country." And as his punishment, he actually had to take part in a Sikh festival and learn about Sikhs, which I found a very interesting form of punishment. But we do see it, and we often, if it ever gets reported, if you ever hear about it, I'm interested to see if other people also, admit, well, I thought he was a Muslim. I mean, that doesn't make it better. It's horrible, but I do believe that's why.
Yeah. By the way, for people that say, "Oh, Armin, where's your source for that information?" and the fact that Ali just give an anecdote instead of data, that's why we call it. We're guessing. That's why I called it.
In the live chat, Chris has confirmed like there was actually a study done that confirms your theory. The majority of Americans could not tell the difference between a Sikh and a Muslim.
Okay. Well, the reason why I call it a hypothesis is because I didn't have any studies, right? I didn't call it a theory. I called it a hypothesis, right? But I don't know. The study doesn't... Okay, yeah, they can't. Okay, good. Thank you, Chris. But another thing I want to warn people about, I always see when Sikhs are being targeted, so there's always this group of people like, "Oh, but Sikhs are so great. I love the Sikhs. They're generally really good people." And it might seem like you're being nice, but I just warn people not make general statements like that. I think it's not, it's the opposite of not condemning people for their, for the group that they belong to, or making hasty generalizations like that, in a negative way. You shouldn't respond to that by doing it the opposite way. I'm making a claim about an entire group of people in a positive way. "Oh, I love gay people. The gay people are all so great." Really, all of them? Like, oh,
no, we're not.
Right, exactly. Like, "Oh, I love Sikh people. Sikh people are so great." I'm pretty sure they have their fair share of assholes, right? Like, it's so interesting. Every time somebody asks me, like, "Oh, Army, where are you from?" Like, Originally, you mean originally? Yeah, like, oh, I was born in Iran. Like, oh, I love Iranian people. Like, really? You do? All of them? Wow, there's something wrong with you if you love all of them. Because have you met all of them? It's so weird. I don't know. I feel disgust. It just feels like you're just trying so hard to be nice, and it just comes off as childish and in a very immature way when you make such a general statement about an entire group of people. Anyways, the top comment saying, "Sad Sikhs are the gems of our society." See, I predicted this right before I saw it. I knew it. Some are saying that's not the story Christians tell. What does that got to do with Christians? I don't know. Anyways, by the way, thank you, Shupam, for noticing the thing in the live chat. Okay,
Yep.
but from Chris. And Chris, thank you for pointing out. Actually, Chris, can you link to the study? Because claiming the study exists, or maybe people could just search for it. Anyways, let's go to the next news.
Next news is out of Ohio, USA. Ohio lawmakers clear bill critics say could expand religion in public schools. Ohio House sent to the Senate on Wednesday a measure that would prohibit public schools from penalizing students for some work that contains religious beliefs. And what they mean by this is this. If in science, a teacher asks, for example, how old is the world? And if someone said the world is, 8,000 years old, because that's my belief, that's my inherited Christian belief, and so that's how old the world is. And they could not get that wrong because they answered it in a religious way.
Oh no! Wait, so you could like a teacher could like, no, that's wrong, and reduce marks. If you say like, no, you can't reduce marks for me because that's my religion.
That's right.
And that's how. What are the chances of this bill being passed?
It already passed the House, now it has to pass the Senate.
What are the chances that it's going to get past the Senate?
Pretty good,
What,
unless a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people outraged over this. I am hoping a lot of people in Ohio are so outraged, they're reaching out to their senators. Quit this, because this is, where does the line stop?
Are you serious?
Like, where,
This is,
I don't know.
honestly, this is like 10 years ago. This could have
In
been
math class, can Jesus equal Y? I don't.
like if like this, yeah, exactly. Like in math, can you say like 2 + 2 is 5, and be like, nope, that's wrong. And like, that's my religious belief. Like, oh, sorry,
Yeah.
you get an A. Like, is that seriously where we are right now? Like that, is this a joke? What is going on? Like, how is this even a discussion? Where's the Freedom from Religion Foundation? Are they going to get involved with this?
I'm sure they will.
Are they not already involved with this? And where's the Satanic Temple? The Satanic Temple should come and be like, what can we do with the Satanic Temple here? They should get involved with it.
Technically, what I think the Satanic Temple should do is reach out to them on, their way of handling this. Like, so yes, we want to get involved in this with you. We definitely believe children should be able to answer based on their religious beliefs. So, if they say Satan and an orgy night as one of their answers, and if that's their belief, just anything to scare the Christians into, oh goodness, this is a bad idea.
So like, for example, in Islam we have like there's a part of the Quran that makes it talks about how salt water could be not mixed with fresh water. There was a part of the sea, I don't remember exactly what it was, but maybe we could use that for Muslims in chemistry class, just to, I don't know, this needs to backfire for Christians, because I don't know how other religions could get involved. Unfortunately, there's not that much we can do with this, because first of all, the Satanic Temple doesn't have that many things when it comes to making scientific claims that goes against science, and the unscientific parts of Islam are basically about, it's mostly about the creation of the universe and stuff, and they don't have that much. They don't have the young earth creationists. They don't have anything that we could scare Christians that much about this. This is just such a nightmare. Like, I don't know if people understand how significant this is. We're talking about the most advanced country in the world, the only superpower that exists right now on our Earth, on planet Earth. Like that's going to change soon, but right now, in this country, it seems to be we're discussing having two separate answers, two scientific questions in school for children in public schools. This is public schools, right?
Yes.
And the teachers have to accept that. The teachers cannot have to, like, your version of science is okay as long as you have a religious stamp on it. Even if it goes, if you claim it's science, as long as it has a religious science and a religious stamp on it, that should be accepted by teachers that are being paid from public funding by taxpayer money. This should be accepted as science, even if it goes against everything that we understand based from the scientific community. Like if that doesn't terrify people, I don't know what will, because this is insane. I can't believe it hasn't been stopped already. How is this not against the Constitution? Like how, like it is against the Constitution, but the fact that even it's against the Constitution, still can people still push forward with this? It shows how messy the whole system is and how influential the Christian groups are, that they could just stop, just make these things happen. Like this is so crazy. Like the fact that, and this goes also to support what we constantly say, that demographics are not enough, because then the nuns, people with no religious affiliation, and also atheists are growing in the United States, and yet politically we're losing. Politically we're going backwards, and this is because a lot of atheists and a lot of secularists are not politically active because they think that's dirty. That's something that only religious people do, and that's how that kind of mentality lets religious people rule over atheists, even if they don't have the numbers on their side, because they do play politics and they know how to play politics. And the fact that atheists don't play politics makes them just let religious people just walk right over them. So Casey is saying it is Armin. What are you referring to? Chopin, what do you think about this?
I think in a way it's a scary situation. For example, let's say biology classes. You are studying about cures for different illnesses, and there would be someone like, okay, I'll pray for you. I'll pray for them. I pray for the patient. I'll ask Jesus to cure them instead of studying what's needed to cure the illness. And these kind of people will get graduated by this kind of laws, and they'll finally go to medical school or something like that. And that's scary if those kind of people enter in medical school, and if they even graduate from those schools.
So the top comment is from Steven. Steven is saying religious fanatics going into survival offensive mode because religion is starting to waver. It started with religious tolerance in schools, society, and workplace in the U.S. People need to stop drinking. But I don't know if religion is like, you really think religion? Yeah, we are winning on the demographic sides, but look at how Christians managed to get so many judges in the Supreme Court, and they will continue to doing that. And even in lower courts, they're managing to do that. There a lot of the things that. A lot of progress that a lot of secularists have been making is now at risk on going backwards, even without the demographics. So don't be too optimistic. Like the thing is that this is what scares me a lot, because with a lot of atheists don't become activists when they see the numbers, when they see that people are becoming more and more leaving a religion. They like to become too optimistic, and they're like, oh, just religion is just taking its natural course and we don't have to worry about things. And they become less motivated becoming activists. But we need more activists, because religion dying is not just religion dying, and religion at least losing its influence on people. It's not just a function of demographics. It's also not just a function of time. It is a function of activism. Like all the progress that we have made, like in Ireland, for example. Like, for example, you see Ireland is a great example, right? You see all the gay marriage being legalized, abortion being legalized, do you think people just sit back and just because like, oh yeah, just wait, and at some point religion is going to lose its power? No, it was because of organizations like Atheist Ireland, or in United States, a lot of the thing that people take for granted is because of organizations like Freedom from Religion Foundation. These things, people fight for these things, right? And if you just look at the individuals leaving religion, you might not become too motivated to become activists. But no, but you shouldn't think like that. And if you can't be an activist yourself, at least support activists, right? Support activists, share their content, share their, if you can't donate to them, at least share their content, right? Because it matters, it's really hard to compete with all the resources that these religious institution have. Atheists and secularists, they're fighting a huge uphill battle. We have like a fraction of what they have when it comes to resources, and what we do really matters. It really does matter. We have managed to do a lot with the very little that is being thrown our way. Anyways, what do you guys, anything else before we go to the next news?
No.
All right, whoa, somebody is sneezing. All right, let's go. Next news.
Next news out of India, blood for the first night. Amazon is selling a product to fake virginity and people can't digest it. So, okay, I actually looked into this. In other Amazons, not Amazon.com or UK, but in like India, they are selling a product that you can take. Women can take these pills, and it makes it look like they're bleeding after sex. So, people just can't understand why anyone would want to do that. And it basically boils down to how sad, certain societies are, where women are absolutely expected to be virgins on their wedding night. And if they're not, they can fake it now. So, Shubham, what do you think about this?
Wow.
This news just proves how fucked up this society is. Like, I mean, it's like so, I don't know what to say. And
this is in India. This is Amazon India specifically,
yeah,
right?
Amazon.in.
Wow. Okay.
And
so
I mean, it's
you want to show that you're a virgin, basically. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, it's like expected of women to be virgin on wedding, like Ali mentioned, and it's like okay, so like I was saying earlier, like sex, the topic, the concept of sex is a taboo in India, which is an irony because considering the huge population, sex is the thing that most people engage in, and the only thing that most people engage in is a freaking taboo in the society. That's an irony of the next level. And I mean, even if you ask people in India, they'll say like, oh no, boys can, okay, even boys having sex is kind of looked down upon, but it's not as bad as girls having sex.
Right.
Okay, so if it's like, okay, boys can have sex maybe before marriage and stuff, even if someone accepts that, most people will be like, oh no, girls can't have sex. I mean, just the other day I was talking to a girl and she was like, oh no, we girls cannot have sex, we need to stay virgins. I'm like, okay, how are you supposed to achieve that unless boys are having gay sex with each other? How are girls supposed to remain virgin?
No, so the difference, I think, is, and you guys could let me know what if I'm looking at this correctly or not. But I think the mentality is when boys are having sex before marriage, they're just doing something wrong, and that's bad, right? But when the girls are having sex before marriage, it's beyond doing something bad. They now use property, right? So women are, when you marry a woman, most societies, it's still kind of like a purchase between the father and the son, the father and the husband, right? So it's kind of like the new husband, is taking a property away from the father, and it's now his property. And if the girl had sex before marriage, it's kind of like buying underwear that was used before you purchased it. You know what I mean? That's how it's looked at, right? So it's kind of like women are treated like property, and this is a used product. It's broken. Like it's why are you giving me something where so when men had sex before marriage, it's not like the fact that woman had sex, some other woman had sex with her doesn't really change his body, right? There's nothing. Her body was changed. I don't have her stink on me anymore at all, right? I did something to her. She didn't do something to me. I did something to her, right? I put something on her. But when a woman has sex before marriage, there's something. It's in those societies, in the minds of men, and women as well. There's something fundamentally changed about her. There's something, virginity, the virginity of men, that being broken doesn't really change something about his body. But when they think that the virginity of women, when that is broken, there's something significantly changed about her, right? And that's why they see her as something used. That's why women are often compared to chewed gum or a candy that was its wrapping was over and there's bugs sitting all over it. And now, would you want to lick that now? If you had a candy, a candy that its wrapping was open and was left and with all these bugs lying all over it. But men are never compared to that. Men that had sex before marriage, they are never compared to chewed gum, right? Why is that? Because they think like men that have sex before marriage, nothing significantly has changed about them, right? So this notion of purity is reserved for women. And the fact that I think the whole idea of the hymen being broken and all that just supports that idea that, well, look, when men have sex, a man you cannot, there's no way physically to detect the difference between a man that had sex before marriage and a man that hasn't had sex before marriage. But for a woman, in their mind, again, this is not accurate because there's other ways for you, like you could, with extreme sports and whatnot. But for a woman, there's something physically that you could identify a woman that has sex before marriage and a woman that hasn't had sex before marriage. And that physical difference for them, they translate that to a more spiritual difference, a more significant spiritual difference as well, right? Even though the physical difference is so insignificant, for them, that's just proof of the spiritual difference as well, which is a lot more significant. What do you guys think about what I just said? Do you think that's right?
Yeah,
I,
in
I
Indian
do, but
family.
can I add something really quick,
Okay, yeah.
Shubham, before you continue? I'm so sorry. I made a mistake, so I just want to correct it as soon as possible. It is a pill, but it's not a pill that you digest. You actually have to stick it about finger deep in the vagina 2 to 4 hours before you do the deed.
Oh yeah, that's actually a good correction because actually it's weird that I didn't question that because how could you take a pill that makes you bleed out of your
Well, you can take a pill that makes it appear that you've been bleeding.
But it makes more sense that you have to stick it up there because wait,
that makes more sense.
Yeah,
sure. Because the other pill that you have to take that can actually simulate your fluids being red, that lasts for a couple of days, so that would kind of give you away. But this, yeah, just fake blood.
Okay, Shubham, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just like you said, in Indian families, most families, women are like prized possessions. In the article, they have used the word women are the family's izzat, which literally means reputation or prestige. So the women are like the prestige of the family. A woman is not a virgin, which means the prestige and the reputation of the family is lost or tainted, and that's kind of stuff. Like that's why I mean, the woman who has had sex once, not in her married life, she'll be branded unsanskari ladki, which literally means uncultured or cultureless girl, or like that kind of stuff. I mean, against the Indian culture.
So is this Indian culture or is this Hinduism, or is there any difference? What if people say this is not Hinduism? What would you respond to that?
This is found in many religions, and yeah, it is Hinduism because even in Hinduism, women are like possessions. In okay, so people are always like Hindus are always like okay, the Gita is the most sacred stuff about Hinduism and everything, the most sacred text in Hinduism.
Mm.
And I don't think any Hindu would deny the Gita, even if they deny some other form of text. Okay, so the what it is said that Gita was the words in Gita are said by Krishna, and this guy
Shubham? Do we lose Shubham? Shubham, we need you really back really for this. But I remember there's being a text in Hindu scripture about one of the gods, and I'm not gonna go towards their in her name. Maybe that was what Shubham. You
were
got
like molested or something like that.
Shubham.
Yeah.
You got disconnected. Can you repeat that? Which one of the stories in the Gita supported this?
Okay, I was not exactly saying the story, but like the author, like it is said that the words in the Gita are by Krishna, and he was like a playboy, and also he used to molest girls in his youth. Okay, and he's often cheered by many people
Which
because of
god?
that.
Which
Like
god was this?
Krishna,
Krishna. And so the Krishna was a playboy, but which god
yeah.
was it that when his wife was accused of sleeping with another god, Krishna, for the sake of saving embarrassment, turned her away, like abandoned her from his house.
Okay, that's not exactly by another god. That's the story from Ramayana. Okay, so
Okay, slept with another mythical creature. Okay, but which
yeah,
god? Which
it's
god?
just the previous incarnation of Krishna,
What was his name at that time?
Ram.
Ram. Okay, so Ram, his love was accused of sleeping with somebody else, right? And Ram didn't even know if this was true or not, but for the sake of, but because people were talking about it, he abandoned her. Is that correct?
Oh, not just abandoned her.
Hmm.
He made her walk on fire.
Wow. Okay. So this whole purity culture is, and this is one of the foundation texts in Hinduism, right? Like this is not one of
That's Ramayana. Every Hindu acknowledges that.
this
That's
is something.
Ramayana.
This is like, because a lot of Hindus like, oh, Hinduism is not the same. Not one thing. There's many different things. This is one of the foundation parts. Like if you deny this part as part of not Hinduism, then you're just throwing the whole thing out. Is that accurate?
Yeah,
Okay,
Ramayana.
so-
Every Hindu believes in Ramayana.
So this whole purity culture does have a source. So like if Hindus are like, oh no, this is based on British colonialism, or no, this is because of the Islamic Empire that was brought to India. No, this is the whole purity culture has its foundation in Hinduism. You have male gods that are playboys and sleeping around with as many women as they want, and they're celebrated. And you have a woman, the woman was a goddess as well, right? Wasn't she?
She was Sita. Okay, she was the wife of Ram.
Right. So she was not even like, it wasn't even she was just accused of. She didn't even sleep with somebody. She was just accused of sleeping with somebody else, and she was made to walk on fire to prove her purity. Right.
And then banished. And after that, banished along with her kids, two kids. She had
Okay.
two kids.
And even after proving her purity, didn't she?
Yeah.
So she walked
actually
on.
walked on fire.
She walked on fire. She proved that she was pure, but just to be safe, they banished her and her kid as well. So this is Hindu text, okay? Like, guys, like, so I don't know how Hindus are gonna defend this. Like, maybe look in the
I mean,
comments.
another thing, like the guy was speaking about Ram who banished his wife for purity stuff. This is the same Ram that BJP and other Hindu extremists worship in Jai Shri Ram.
Right. Okay,
This
so
is the same guy.
So next time somebody says like, "Oh, Hinduism is not a religion; it's just a way of life," don't criticize it. Tell them like, "Well, if it's a way of life, it's a effed up way of life." And by the way, saying something is a way of life doesn't mean they're not religions, because religions are way of lives, and they are really backwards, barbaric, ancient ways of life that need to die. So yeah, Hinduism is a way of life, and it's a way of life that needs to end, and it's a way of life that needs to be ridiculed, it's a way of life that needs to be mocked, it's a way of life that needs to be called out, and it's a way of life that needs to end. Okay? So, Ali, did you want to add anything?
Nope.
Okay. Let's go to the next news.
Next news out of Saudi Arabia. A Saudi ad refers to feminism, atheism, and homosexuality as forms of extremism. So this was shared, a video was shared by a Saudi Arabian security agency with a verified checkmark, by the way. And they tweeted this video that said that feminism, homosexuality, and atheism are examples of extremism, and they need to be opposed at all costs. Now, this is news and this is scary because under Saudi law, supporting groups classified as extremist organizations can lead to imprisonment. So...
Yeah, I mean, so atheists in Saudi Arabia, we've been on the terrorist list for a while now, right? So we have the honor of being there. For this is not new. Like atheism, not like spreading atheism, not like atheist propaganda, not like advocating for atheism. That hasn't been listed as just terrorism, just atheism, right? Just being an atheist has been so. In 13 Islamic countries, in 13 countries in the world, atheism has been is punishable by death, right? All of them Islamic, surprise, surprise. But in Saudi Arabia, they're like, let's go a step further. Atheism is not just punishable by death. Atheism is terrorism in Saudi Arabia. So we've been on that list for a while. But apparently now homosexuality is extremism and feminism is also extremism. But this is you said by a security. Is that a government-based account, Twitter account?
I'm not sure if it's
Okay.
government-based or not.
So we need to look into that. But it's before, and I know a lot of people might be tempted in our. I'll see what the comments are, but some people might be tempted to be like, "Oh, feminism is extremism," and this is probably the people that took the red pill and stuff, and be like, "Oh, well, feminism, they're right about that." We're talking about feminism in Saudi Arabia, okay? This is the feminism. Okay, whatever you think about feminism in Western countries, they're very, very legit forms of feminism. I think still in some areas in Western countries, I do understand that there are extreme versions of feminism. That's a whole other debate. But if we're talking about feminism in Saudi Arabia, that is legit feminism. Okay, that is like pure feminism that is very, very much needed. Okay, and the danger about labeling feminism in Saudi Arabia as extremism is that a lot of now, if this kind of accusation becomes the norm, there's a lot of human rights groups that are operating in Saudi Arabia that could just go like this, right? Like, what are they going to consider feminism? Are people that want women to vote in Saudi Arabia, are they going to label them as extremists? Are they every single woman that had a tweet about women driving, a woman that it's very interesting because in Saudi Arabia, even if once they let women drive, they still go arrest women that fought for women to be able to drive. So women driving became legal. But women that had fought for that becoming legal are still in jail to this day. Like, wait, why am I not free? The thing that I was fighting for is now the law. Why am I still in jail? They don't care. You fought the government, you're in jail. Like, a woman going to stadium, is every single person that said, mention, women should be able to go to stadiums. Are those now feminists? Are they now every single one of them an extremist? This just gives authority to the government to be able to just easily accuse anybody of being an extremist. And if you think that it was easy already, no, these things are complicated, right? Saudi Arabia does have to play around with normalizing something. It does care about its public image. It does, they spend millions and millions of dollars trying to fix their image around the world. They need the tourism. And they are running out of cash. I know it's hard to believe with all the oil they have, but they are running out of cash. They are trying to sell their shares in Aramco, which is one of the world's largest companies. Like they're going through an IPO right now. There's oil prices are not high enough for them to be able to maintain their control. They need to diversify to find other sources of income other than oil, and that includes tourism. And for that to work, they need to fix their image. So these things do matter to Saudi Arabia, right? So putting out tweets like this and trying to label people as extremists, it is them testing the water. And there needs to be a backlash. Like if you think, well, of course it's Saudi Arabia, and you don't have a backlash to that, that's just that just signals to them that okay, we can move forward with this, right? Just because it's Saudi Arabia, don't just normalize it and be like, well, yeah, of course it's Saudi Arabia. They do notice the backlash. If the backlash is too much, they will back down. Even Saudi Arabia does back down, especially now. They are desperate for foreign. For their image around the world, right? And they're using celebrities. Anyways, that I'm going on a tangent now. But if you see stuff like this, share this video, right? Embarrass Saudi Arabia. Like we ridicule Saudi Arabia. We need to make sure that the Vision 2030 that Mohammed bin Salman has, for them to normalize, to create this beautiful image of Saudi Arabia, and make people invest in Saudi Arabia and encourage tourism in Saudi Arabia, that shouldn't work. And you could be a small part of that if you embarrass Saudi Arabia and everything they do as any chance you get. And you could do that by sharing this video. So what do you guys think? You agree?
Yeah.
All right. Rachel is saying, well, I mean, they would know what extremism looks like. Matt is saying, is there any way to change my badge from top fan to top extremist? Because that would be cool. Yeah, I'm honored to be considered an extremist by Saudi Arabia. I'll wear that badge any day. Shupam, any comment on this?
I mean, I'm kind of extremist in all three of these parts: feminism, atheism, and I'm pansexual. So yeah, that's also.
Yeah, like Saudi Arabia. Why just homosexuality? Include pansexuals as well, right?
I'm extremist times 3.
yeah, you're right. You kind of check all the boxes.
I'm like the Osama bin Laden for Saudi Arabia.
Right. Yeah, don't go near that country, Shapam. Okay. No, but seriously, any celebrity or any organization that even touches anything Saudi related, they need to be shamed. They need to you need to tell them that they have blood on their hand. BTS from South Korea, they need to be shamed, right? Uber, you need to call them out. Any organization, right? Anybody that is investing in organizations that have large Saudi shareholders, right? They need to be called out, right? If you're an investor, if you own mutual funds, if you own stocks in that has companies like Uber that has a lot of shares from Saudi Arabia, you could do your part by selling those shares, right? Again, I'm not a financial investor, so don't take my financial advice. Talk to your broker about that. And celebrities that do listen to the public, they need to be celebrated. I think it was Nicki Minaj that was going, because Saudi Arabia was using celebrities to bring tourists to Saudi Arabia, and Nicki Minaj was invited to go and perform, and there was a public backlash. And I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, but Nicki Minaj backed down. Like, okay, I'm not gonna go because these people are executing gay people, and I don't want to be a part of that. That should be celebrated. People should see that there's not just a negative reaction when they don't listen, but there should be a positive reaction when they do listen. But celebrities like BTS, they didn't listen. They heard and they're like, oh yeah, this is a difficult decision, but we're still gonna go. They need to be called out. They need to be embarrassed. They need to be like, okay, BTS, the money that you're making, it has gay people's blood on it. Just realize that you're making money by promoting, you're supporting the killing of gay people, right? Just remember that,
Okay, I think if I remember correctly, BTS went to Saudi Arabia, but they were not allowed to perform because they looked gay. I think that was the case.
Wait, what?
I think they were not allowed to perform because they looked gay.
Who wasn't allowed to perform? BTS?
BTS in Saudi Arabia.
Wow, I didn't know that. But that was not their decision. They were invited, and BTS, even after the backlash, they said we're still gonna go. So now that they're not allowed to go, That's the Saudi decision. That's not their decision. So they still should be condemned. They still should be
No,
condemned. Yeah,
my
yeah.
point was like
Mm.
they should know that Saudi Arabia is homophobic because they were not allowed to perform for
Yeah,
just
but
looking gay, which doesn't even mean a thing.
yeah, but it's so disgusting when they looked at how much money they were going to be making, and they also looked at their whole community, telling them like, "Hey, why are you going there? These people are you shouldn't be supporting bringing tourism to Saudi Arabia," and they were like, "Yeah, but the money though, they're paying us so much," and they should never be forgiven for that. Um, yeah, but thank you. I didn't know that. I will look into that. I didn't know that. I mean, that's great. So they're not even going to make that money. I hope that's true. So even after they said yes to it because of the money, they end up not making that money. Good. I hope that's true.
If I remember correctly, that happened.
Okay,
And,
let us know if that happened in the comment section. All right, let's go to the next news.
Next news out of Sydney, Australia. Sydney Sikh community treats exhausted firefighters to a home-cooked meal. So there was an emergency rated fire going off in Sydney, and volunteer firefighters were out there working very hard, putting it out. Once they got that done, the Sikh temple community people from that attend the temple dropped by with food, water, different curries, juice, and soft drinks to thank the firefighters for everything they did in putting out the fire.
Okay, what do you guys think about this?
I think that that it's great that people are helping their communities. I just don't understand why it's news just because they're Sikh.
Right. What do
I
you
mean,
think about Shubha? I'm gonna have my own.
yeah, I mean, like Alice said, I think it's great they're helping out the community, but I don't understand why this is news. Also, like, there are like many news, like Sikh people doing this and that, like good stuff, wholesome stuff. But why does it have to be in news every time they do
I
something?
think this is okay. I know. I have a hypothesis for why this is news. I think a lot of people that want to be anti some religions, they want to also have some religions. They're like, oh look, these religions can that be bad? I'm not against our religions. I'm only against these religions. So that's why Sikhs are always used as like role models for how religion could be a good thing. But this is a very dangerous thing to do. And I'll read the top comment, and I'll tell you why I think this is so dangerous to be like, oh, Sikhs are great because of this, right? So, Krishna is saying only two religions which I respect for are Sikhism and Buddhism. One was born out of pursuit of knowledge, and other of protecting their brothers and sisters and their heritage. I respect no religion, and I don't respect Sikhism either. Okay, no matter how many good Sikhs they are, these are good people. It has nothing to do with the religion. These are just good people, right? People are capable of being good to each other without religion, and when being good is used as a way to spread religion, that actually, to me, that is propaganda, and that's dangerous, because at the end of the day, the whole idea of religion is to figure out what's true and what's not based on a source that is faulty, and that is actually more dangerous than when you see religions, when you share news about religions being a source of harm, because see, when it comes to figuring out how to live and what to do and what's right and what's not and what's science and what's not and what's fact and what's nonsense, the methodology matters more than the conclusion. Okay, there are the right methods and then the wrong methods. The right methods don't always get you the right answer. They just more often give you the right answer. The wrong methods don't always give you the wrong answer. The wrong methods sometimes give you accidentally the right answer. But those times that the wrong methods give you the right answer, those unique examples are used to sell the wrong methodology, the methodology that often gives you the wrong answer, right? So when you come up with examples where religion, faith, superstition is giving you something good, That is absolutely dangerous, because now you're going to use those unique examples to sell a very, very flawed method. Something, faith in general, religion in general, is a very dangerous thing. And these kind of examples that are used as propaganda to sell, to make it seem like religion as a whole might not be that bad of a thing. And to me, that is very dangerous. And when you see like Sikhs being nice to people, and you're like, see, Sikhism cannot not that bad, unlike those other religions. Well, guess what? Muslims have a lot of charities. Are you going to be are you now going to be discharitable to Islam as well? I would bet you that they have even more charities. Do you think Muslims don't go out there to feed people? Do you think Christians don't have, charities that they take care of homeless people? Do you think Christians don't have missionary groups that go take care of people that have been hurt by earthquakes and stuff like that? Do you think they don't have that? They have that a lot more, right? The reason why that doesn't give coverage, because they also have more resources, right? The reason why that doesn't get coverage is because people want to use Sikhs as a way to be like, look, we have better people than Christians and Muslims, because, Abrahamic religion, bad. But hey, Eastern Buddhism, Sikhism, we can have religions that is good. But what if you want to be consistent, then if you want to endorse Sikhism when Sikhs are being charitable, then you have to endorse Islam and Christianity when they are being charitable, because they do that. But guess what? When Muslims are being charitable, when Muslims are being nice, I don't give credit to Islam. I give credit to those individuals. When Christians are being charitable, when Christians are being kind to other people, I don't give credit to Christianity. I give credit to those individuals, and I'll do the same thing with Sikhism. These are just nice people, and I'm hoping that these people are so nice that even if they didn't have Sikhism, they would have still been nice to their fellow human beings. And if they weren't going to be nice to their fellow human beings, unless it was ordered from their religion, then technically they're not good human beings. Technically, they're just following orders, right? I'm hoping that these are people that would have still been nice to their fellow human beings without their religion. And if that's the case, then their religion does not deserve any credit. And Buddhism, this top comment was saying, Buddhism also, I respect it. Buddhism deserves absolutely zero credit for anything, okay? Buddhism is also superstitious, it's nonsense, and it's still, anything that still spreads superstition and unscientific has unscientific claims should be called out and should die out, and that includes Sikhism and Buddhism. I will be against Sikhism and Buddhism no matter how peaceful and nice they claim to be. What do you guys think about that?
I agree. And GV from our chat says, if covering news like this helps the reduction of hate crimes against Sikhs, isn't it a good thing? I don't think that news articles like this is reducing the hate crimes against Sikhs. I think that if somebody truly hates another person, which I honestly don't think that a lot of people do hate Sikhs. I think that they confuse their dress as something else that they hate. But I think that this articles like this, if someone truly hated Sikhs and truly wanted to go out and commit a hate crime against them, not just hate them, but actually take it to a physical force, reading this article isn't going to stop them from doing that. I agree with Armin that this is more propaganda. These are puff pieces that do make people say, "Wow, maybe this is a good religion. These are good people," and these are good people. But they're not good people because of their religion.
Exactly. But I might slightly disagree with you, Elliot, because I do think that, it's okay to use stories like this if the intention is to make us be tolerant of people, but not if it's spread to make us tolerant of their religion, right? So, for example,
I think that there's a huge difference between tolerance and people who are already at a hate crime stage.
Right. So, for example, if Muslims are going out there and they're genuinely doing something good, like they're like cleaning parks or being charitable, right? I might use that story as a way to be like, look, Muslims are not evil, right? Muslims are not evil. Muslims could be good people, right? But I would not give credit to Islam for it. Right? I would just say being a Muslim doesn't make you evil. But I wouldn't say being Muslim makes you a good person. It doesn't do either one of those things, right? Being a Muslim makes you wrong, right? It makes you wrong it doesn't make you evil. Well, not necessarily. Sometimes it does, right? Well, but being Muslim doesn't make you. If you're being charitable, if it's because you're a Muslim, then you're not really being a good person. But if you're charitable, if you're kind because you're a good person, then your religion doesn't deserve any credit, right? And I might use a story of a good Muslim to just reduce hate crimes on Muslims, just to introduce people that hate Muslims that like, look, there are good Muslims out there, right? Stop being so hateful, right?
Right, but we'd have to see if that works, because I think a lot of intolerant people that would work on, and that's fine. But I'm talking about people who are actually going out to commit hate crimes. It's past this. What does cure people who are already filled with so much hate towards a group of people that they want to bash them or, kill them or whatever it may be, is to put them in situations where they have to work with them in their communities or speak with them at their jobs, or get these hate crimed people out of their homes, out of their basements, and out into the community where they have to actually interact with others. I think that is the way to reduce hate crimes. If we're talking about reducing intolerance or something like that, sure, okay.
Right.
But people who are already at the stage where they hate so much, these stories are just going to be ignored.
Right,
and they're
but
just going
most
to
people
focus
are
on
not.
other issues.
But most people are not there yet. Most people are way before that. And JV is
Well,
agreeing.
that's fine. The question was if this does help reduce hate crimes. So I'm saying I don't think that these will help reduce hate crimes.
But the reason why I do think is, and JV is agreeing with you. JV is saying, yeah, this is never going to convince the rabid bigots. But the reason why I disagree with both of you is because the reason why I might disagree with reduce hate crimes is because a lot of people, before they got to that stage, they were at their lower stage, much lower stage before they got there.
No, that's a good point.
And it might just stop them from, maybe when they get there, it's too late for them, but it might stop some people from getting to that far, right? Maybe. All right. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know. Let us know in the comment section. Okay, let's go to the last news.
Last news is out of Florida, USA. A pastor puts $4.4 million mansion up for auction after being forced to pay taxes. This story is amazing. The pastor of the Faith Christian Family Church allowed his home, his $4.4 million mansion, to be used over spring break by a nightclub called Amnesia, that hosted anything but clothes parties, right? So like anything goes but clothes kind of a party. Yep. So, so people obviously raised a lot of alarm. They didn't think that this was okay. He also allowed like lingerie and sleepover parties and past spring break vacations. He allowed people to come in and do that. So so he was taken to court for this because he's had his tax exempt status taken away from him, and he lost his appeal during that as well, and so he's having to put up his house for sale to pay taxes back during the time that he was tax exempt.
Wait, okay, so a pastor that has this much money, he must have a huge congregation. Like a lot of people Christians might be supporting him. Like how does it? Do people know that he had these parties? Like how do you manage to keep your support and pretend like you're a man of God, and still do all these things? How does that work? Can somebody tell me how does that work?
I don't know.
Okay, that's very short. Do you think these people buy their own nonsense? Do these people these idiots are taking their money and I'm just living a life like this, or they just what do you think? Do they?
I wanted to know more about this. I wanted to see if was he telling his congregation we need to be more open-minded and bring in other secular people into our grasp so we can build them up in the name of God, and that's why I'm using my mansion for these parties. Like what kind of line was he feeding his congregation? Because obviously someone is going to find out about it. Obviously they did.
How does he justify naked parties to his to like, and people show up like, okay, let's do this. Like, how do you? I'm very interested. Like, what's the line of reasoning that you go through? And people are like, yeah, sure, I'm up for that. And they like they can still feel. Was like these whole like naked parties? Was it to his Christian followers, or was that a separate thing?
Oh no, so he actually rented his house out this last time to a nightclub called Amnesia.
Oh.
And so it was Amnesia that went to his house and threw this big party. He knew what was going to happen. He knew that it was an anything but closed kind of a party. Like, of course he knew all this. It's just, why did he care? He got to rent out his house and make a ton of money for doing it.
The top comment is saying, damn, maybe I should become a pastor so I can con people for money and not pay taxes. Beautiful. Okay. By the way, we're not, and you guys could correct me, tell me if you agree with this or not. We're not saying that churches should pay taxes. Okay? Because if we think that churches should just play at the same, should basically have the same rules that other charities have. Okay, that's all we're saying. Because in the United States, charities don't have to pay taxes, and that's fair. And charities have to prove that the money that the money that they're spending their donations on is going towards a public good. The problem with churches and other religious institutions is that they don't have that requirement. Okay. So we have to be a little bit nuanced. We can't be just like, hey, tax the churches. We're like, because they're like, wait, no, are we saying all charities should now pay taxes? No, we're not saying that. We just think that it should be equal, that the requirements should be equal among all charities, right? Why is it that all charities have to open their books, but the churches and the mosque and every other religious institutions, they get to keep their book hidden, and they get to be tax exempt without proving that they're spending their money on a public good? And they could spend that on mansions, and they could spend that on many other things, including promoting their religion, which is not a public good, and they still manage to be tax exempt, right? But do you guys agree with that?
No, I do, because like we mentioned in our last bit of news, sorry, but churches do a lot of good. I volunteer with a church because no secular organization does what they do, and I want to help give back to my community. So there absolutely are a lot of amazing things that churches and communities do, and they don't need to be taxed on everything. And a lot of people don't understand. They don't understand charity. They don't understand nonprofit. They think if you're a nonprofit, that means you don't need money. Of course, people need money to do the functions that they are claiming to do. But when it comes to churches actually get they get a lot of breaks. They get a lot of breaks that we don't get as a tax exempt organization. And people, I think, don't understand that. They think that if you're a 501c3, you don't ever pay taxes on anything. You're just like a church. You're just like a church. And that's not true. So, right. I do. I think that they should be held to the exact same standards as everybody else.
Right.
And in this situation right here, and I also want to make it perfectly clear that I am totally fine with these kind of parties that he threw. And I personally wish that more religious people would get involved in parties like this. I think it would make the world a happier, better place. But you can't use your tax exempt property and then make money off of it. So
right.
Yeah.
So all we're asking is for them to take away their religious privilege, right? Even if we don't agree with your ideology or your church and stuff, our disagreement doesn't mean that we want to take your right away from, as long as you're playing by the same rules as everybody else is playing, right? Even if we disagree with your church or your mosque or whatever, just all we want is for everybody to be playing by the same rule. We want religious privileges to go away. We don't want to completely take your rights away to do the things that the rest of us gets to do. I think another godless atheist is agreeing with us. He's saying, I don't think all aspects of churches should be tax exempt, such as business owned by the churches or personal properties. Exactly, right? So don't, they can still remain tax exempt, but there are a lot of the things that they should that are doing shouldn't be tax exempt. Like, for example, this mansion. But the fact that the IRS went over this, caught them on this, that doesn't mean that now they're playing by the same rule, because this was completely out of the ordinary. Like churches still get away. This was a very unique example that this guy really pushed it to the very limits. That like this guy made it very, very hard for him to be able to tie his mansion to his church activity, especially with these parties and stuff. But for other churches, it's not that hard, right? To be able to have mansions, to be able to spend money on private jets, and somehow tie it to the church. Most of them get away with it. This guy just pushed it so hard to the limit that the IRS were like, yeah, okay, so we need to, this is not okay, right? But most of the time they do get away with it, right? Yeah, most of the time. I mean, it's very easy. Just be like, hey, I need my private jet to be able to go from this church to this church, and we're spreading God's word. Like, yeah, the IRS like, okay, what? It's the law. It is the law, and the law should change. All right, Shubham, did you want to add anything to this?
Well, not much. Just thinking like this pastor just goes from father in the day to daddy by night.
All right, that's a good note to end it on. Anyways, thank you guys. Please share our videos on our YouTube channel. YouTube hates us. This is why our YouTube channel is not growing. They don't like our videos. They're like, why can't you just share cat videos? Or why can't you, like, as if you're not a mainstream source of media, they're not going to recommend our videos. So we really rely on you guys to share our videos. Also, please subscribe to our newsletter. The link is in the description, because that's the only way for us to stay in touch with you, because social media outlets don't like us talk about the things that we do talk about. So look in the description, find the link to our newsletter, and that's the only way for us to be in direct communication with you. Everything else is controlled by Facebook, by Twitter, by YouTube, and they don't want you to see us that much. That's why all their algorithms are working against us. So please subscribe to our newsletter. And given that we're in such a huge disadvantage compared to some other people, which are more PC or more mainstream, because mainstream gets to be not PC. Given that we're on such a huge disadvantage, we do rely on our community to share our videos. So please, 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 please share our videos. Anyways, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Another Godless Atheist, Beach, Mars, Chris, GV, everybody else on Facebook. I don't know why the Facebook live chat today was acting up, so I couldn't read most of the comments. Sorry about that. But please join us again next week at the same time. If everything works out, we'll be here again next week. Love you. Bye.
Bye.